Ooh, I'm excited about this one.
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here. When you get out of here, you have a drink for me, yeah?
What's going on, guys? I'm back again with another Blu-ray slash movie 4K haul video. Physical media haul, let's just call it that. It's funny because I think I made one of these earlier in the year and I had like a stack of 5 movies. This one's much bigger. So, interesting story behind this stack. I haven't bought movies for most of this year. What you're seeing is months and months of build-up. But what really happened was that the last few weeks there have just been a bunch of crazy sales online for Blu-rays, especially for American imports, which I think you can clearly see in front of you here. Great deals for movies that I otherwise would not have been able to... Well, I could have got my hands on them, but movies that I wouldn't have been able to justify the price for. It's been like that for a few weeks. The funny thing is, I was actually meant to get a little bit more than this, but one of my orders got lost in the mail. I got a refund for it, so don't worry. But I was also meant to be getting an American import for the Pan's Labyrinth 4K and the Back to the Future trilogy on 4K. I probably could have reordered them, but I'm not really... I've got enough movies for now. I'm taking a break. Back to the Future, I can pick that up another day. Pan's Labyrinth, I might go back to it. Anyway, I was meant to get more, but this is everything that I've picked up in the last few months. Mostly the last few weeks, to be entirely honest. But there is some awesome stuff that I'm really stoked about. I've just been waiting these last few weeks for everything to come in, and it's finally all here. The nice thing about it being sort of stagnated is that I've managed to watch most of these by now. There are a few I haven't gotten around to yet, but I've been able to watch a fair few of these, which I'm really happy with. But yeah, anyway, you know how these things go. Lighter on the editing, nice, laid back video. Let's just chill out, talk about some movies, and yeah. Don't really know how long this one's gonna be. I'm just gonna, so like we said, no editing. We're doing it live. Chill video, just sit back, relax, let's talk about some stuff. Alright, so first up, we have a DVD. I know, I'm still buying DVDs in 2024. What Becomes of the Brokenhearted? This is a sequel to a New Zealand film called Once Were Warriors. Brilliant film. Well, Once Were Warriors is. But this, I had no idea this movie existed until like a week before I bought it. So, Once Were Warriors, brilliant film, amazing. One of the best dramas I've ever watched, period. Brilliant indie film. I don't know what the story was behind making the sequel here, but it's a solid follow-up to that first movie. I think it's a nice little sort of bookend to that first film. It kind of unwraps a lot of the trauma and the confusion behind what happened at the end of that film, which they didn't really entirely explore. I love what they do with Jake the Muss in this movie. Tamura Morrison is really what sells this movie. He's brilliant. It's a nice bookend to the last film, but it's definitely not as good as the first one. And I bought it on DVD because it does not have a Blu-ray. You cannot stream it anywhere. There are versions online. There's even a version on YouTube, but they're not good. And even this DVD release just sucks. Like, it looks like someone recorded it off of their TV. Like, it's just... I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's a 4:3 picture of a widescreen film. So it has black bars at the sides and on the top. So it's like a picture just in the middle of your TV. It's weird. But yeah, I bought that one secondhand, and actually it came with a really nice little message from the seller saying, I'll put a picture of it up on screen if I can find it, but saying that, buying this movie is helping a little girl swim with dolphins at SeaWorld, which just made my day when I bought it. And then, this is a carryover from the last haul video I did. In the last haul video, I showed off Before Midnight on DVD, and this one was actually coming in the mail. I got it after that video. This has been sitting on my shelf for months. Anyway, Before Sunset, Before Sunrise. The Before trilogy is just a beautiful piece of filmmaking. It might be the highlight of Richard Linklater's career. I do really like Dazed and Confused, but these films are just... they're really special. There's just something so nice and comforting about them, and I feel like they're films that are definitely going to evolve and mean different things to me as I grow older. Personally, I think Sunset is my favorite of the trilogy, but they're all just amazing. And again, I bought this one on DVD because the only other version of these films really is the Criterion Blu-ray box set, which I just... look, I know this is a bit hypocritical because I have a Criterion in front of me, but Criterion's a bit too expensive for me. I can't really justify spending that much on a movie. DVDs are these. They're nice. They look good. I'm happy with them. And, you know, this is a 2-pack, so you get the DVDs separately in this little flippy thing. These are old, man. Like, these are the kind of DVDs you'd see on, like, your nan's shelf back in the day. Anyway, that's all the DVDs I got, just 2 of them. Let's get into the Blu-rays. I'm a fan of the Fast and Furious movies. I think 5 to 7, that trilogy of films, untouchable, super fun action films and pretty well made for what they are. Tokyo Drift is a weird film in that franchise for me because I feel like critically people bash it, but there's just this subset of fans that really love this film. I really like this movie, and I think it's just the vibe of it. It just feels cool. And in terms of Fast and Furious movies that focus on racing rather than action, I think this is the best of that subset of films from the franchise. And you know, oh, look at, I forgot this was in there. Nice little teaser for Fast 5. That's how old this thing is. And of course, this is one of those weird Blu-rays where the digital copy is on a DVD that you have to put into your computer. Never messed with any of that. Super basic Blu-ray, but rewatching this one again on Blu-ray, it's an awesome film. Like, it's just fun, man. Like, being a snob isn't fun. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through this pile first, and then we're going to go through this one. Next up. Falling Down. I got this one imported from the UK because it was just cheap on Amazon and I wanted to watch this movie for a long time. It's great. I don't know. There's not really much to say about this one. Basic Blu-ray. As for the film itself, I think the message is really smart. It's an interesting sort of twist on a protagonist in the film. It's sort of a dual protagonist sort of film where it's like, you know, you think you're meant to be following the one guy who's doing not the righteous sort of thing, but Michael Douglas in this film, you look at his character and you relate to him and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's a hero for normal people. But then there's this interesting twist at the end as to who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and who's right or wrong in this situation. Interesting film, also super fun. Maybe Joel Schumacher's best film. If you're one of those people who think Joel Schumacher's a terrible filmmaker because he made Batman and Robin, watch that film. He's made great stuff. Oh, Magnolia. It's crazy, man, because for a while, I didn't think I really liked Paul Thomas Anderson. Don't lynch me for this, but I don't really like There Will Be Blood. It just didn't really click for me. And then after that, I watched The Master, which just... I don't like that movie at all. What can I say? But those were the first 2 PTA films I watched. And based off of those 2, I thought I just didn't gel with his movies at all. Now, over time, I've started watching more of them. But I think Magnolia is the film that really just made me go, oh my god, like, this guy's a genius. 3 hours long, uses every minute of screen time so beautifully. The way this film manages to tie all of these plots and characters together is just amazing. And Tom Cruise in this movie, it's one of my favorite Tom Cruise performances, man. It's just unreal. Standard Blu-ray, but this one is definitely a standout of all these movies. What We Do in the Shadows, another classic New Zealand film. Bit of a theme going here. Arguably what made Taika Waititi famous, his breakout sort of movie. I'm pretty sure he directed this one. I gotta read this actually, hang on. I'm pretty sure he directed it. Okay, he did it with Jermaine Clement. That makes sense, okay. Super interesting film, great twist on vampires and the horror sort of genre. Super funny. If you haven't watched it, I'd highly recommend it. I haven't watched the TV show, which after the film I actually might now. Oh yeah, and standard Blu-ray, but Mad Men, they like to put in a little bit more effort, so they've got a nice little bit of artwork in the front here. The Proposition. I thought this Blu-ray was out of print, but then I found it at JB Hi-Fi for like 20 bucks. And some joker on eBay was trying to sell it for 80. This is just a brilliant Western film. Simple premise, straightforward plot, but it's just executed so well. And it's one of those films that really captures the brutality and just the vastness of Outback Australia. Great film. Guy Pearce is a standout here. And, you know, another solid release for Umbrella. I'm happy I have this one because I thought I wasn't going to be able to pick it up. Boogie Nights. I've wanted to watch this film for a very long time, and it did not disappoint. I can see why PTA took off after this movie. It's a very fun film with some smarter undertones to it. It can be appreciated as just this raunchy sex comedy. But there's a bit more to dig into there if you're really looking for it. I mean, it's one of those movies that just really blows you away. And it does not hold back. The ending of this film, wow. Oh. The Iron Claw. You need to watch this movie. I heard very good things about it going into it when I watched it for the first time last year, I think. And it surpassed every expectation of mine. It's one of my favorite films of... I'm pretty sure it was released last year. I didn't watch it in cinemas. I watched it as a rental. I haven't watched the Blu-ray yet, but... God. Simultaneously, one of the most beautiful and most devastating films I've ever seen. Really perfectly captures what a family dynamic is and can be. And, you know, it's a great sins of the father sort of story, and I really appreciate that. Oh, okay, we're getting into some 4Ks now. Hellboy. This and the second one I have behind me here, they were a first time watch for me, and they're pretty good. This first one I don't love. I like it. I don't... Put it this way, I don't like it as much as a lot of other people do, but I do agree that Ron Perlman is what makes this movie. Without him, I don't think it would be anywhere near as good. There's a digital code in here. If you can see that, you can use it. I don't know if it's still valid, whatever. I don't use them. Take it if you want. Blu-ray, 4K there. I watched the director's cut and it's good, man. I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as other people seem to. That was one I got a good deal on. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get it to Australia. Same thing with this one. I really love this movie. I think it is so much better than the first Hellboy. Purely maybe just because they don't have to set up everything and they can kind of just drop you into this world and just play with the imagery and the characters a bit more. Again, Ron Perlman is what sells this movie. Great looking 4K. And yeah, I really wish they got to make a third one because I would have watched the shit out of that. And I think, you know, they really hit their stride with this film, and I think a third one may have been the best of the trilogy. But they made the one with David Harbour, which I haven't watched. I don't know if I will watch, but we'll see. Here's a cool one. RoboCop, the Arrow Video Blu-ray. This is a great movie, man. I mean, from the moment I watched it, it's just this perfect blend of action, satire, violence, comedy. It's just entertaining, man. I actually played the video game they just put out recently and really enjoyed that too. If you're a RoboCop fan, play that game. It's rough around the edges, but it perfectly captures what this film is. Arrow Video goes without saying. Their releases are spectacular. I mean, look at this artwork on the front here. You don't get that with standard Blu-rays. And of course, you get a nice little bit of artwork on the disc here, a little bit of inserts, and of course, there's a dual cover set up under here. Great release of a great movie. Ooh. Dune Part 2. Definitely one of my favorite films of the year. I haven't watched it on 4K yet. I gotta sit down and savor the flavor. It's a long movie. I gotta be in the mood to watch it, but it was one that I knew was an immediate pickup on 4K. I've heard nothing but raving reviews for this disc. The first one was brilliant, so I'm expecting great things from this one too. Really, really excited to rewatch this one. Cannot wait for the third movie. Last one of this pile. Alien on 4K. This 4K has been around for a long time. I don't know if it's still in print overseas, but it just recently went out of print in Australia. Funny thing is, I rewatched my Blu-ray of Alien for the first time in a long time in preparation for Romulus. And I was sitting there, and I was like, this is a really damn good movie. And I'd heard great things about the 4K, and I'm like, I want this movie on 4K. It's very expensive now, but I found this one for a good price. It was a buy two, get a certain % off deal, which brought it down to a very reasonable price. And I have not watched this 4K yet. I'm going to savor it. I'm going to give it some time in between watches. I only watched Alien like the other week, but what I've seen and what I've heard about this release is nothing short of stellar. Nice little setup there. And I'm pretty sure that original Blu-ray is like 10 plus years old, so I'm expecting a pretty major upgrade there. And by the way, if you're seeing any of these digital codes, feel free to take them, because I don't use them. I probably never will use them. So yeah, little public service announcement there. Some of them might be out of date, who knows. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I rewatched the Caesar trilogy in preparation for Kingdom, which I thought was a solid follow-up to this trilogy of films. But I actually didn't have them on Blu-ray when I rewatched them, so I rented them. Or was it on streaming? It was probably on Disney Plus, actually, now that I think about it. And I rewatched... I already had War on Blu-ray, that's how I watched that movie for the first time, but I didn't have Rise and Dawn, so I watched them digitally. And I rewatched them, and I thought, holy shit, these movies are even better than I remember. This trilogy is probably one of the most underrated trilogies of all time now. What they did with these films was a really smart and cool reinvention of what those older films were. This Blu-ray too is also super nice. Collector's edition. Got a few discs in here, digital copy there, all the special features. And you get a weird little film cell with it too, which I thought was super cool. You can sort of see that there. Maybe. Yeah, showing the evolution of the filmmaking process. It's cool. Didn't cost much to pick this up secondhand either, which was nice. Then we'll have Dawn. Both with, you know, nice slipcovers too. These are cool editions. Honestly, they look better than the 4K versions, which were out of print when I got these, but then I go back online and they're there again for very cheap, which I might upgrade one day, but I'm not doing that now. And the cool thing about this edition too is that it actually comes with the 3D Blu-ray. No, that's the 3D Blu-ray, sorry. Which, you know, I actually do have a way to watch 3D Blu-rays. You can do it through a PSVR, but to do that, I would have to drag that thing out of the box again, which isn't worth it to watch the amount of 3D Blu-rays I have. The Creator. One of my favorite films of last year. I didn't really think I was going to be able to pick this up on 4K because it didn't come out in Australia, but went for super cheap online recently, so I just had to pick it up. I mean, this is timely too because they just put out those pictures of Jurassic World recently, which I'm very excited for that film. Gareth Edwards does good stuff, so I'm hoping for good things there. And a cool thing about this release, check out that disc artwork. I get a kick out of it every time. Very good looking film on 4K too, with a very nice amount of grain for a modern film. It also has a super skinny aspect ratio, which I didn't notice when I was watching it in cinemas. It's tiny, man, but it looks very nice. Oh, here's a big one. The Virgin Suicides. One of my favorite films of all time. There is something about this film that I just love. I actually have it on DVD, which I bought that a couple of years ago. I think before they even did the Criterion did the 4K restoration and put out that Blu-ray, which I was never gonna buy. But then Studio Canal licensed that transfer and put out their own 4K, which was a very reasonable price and was super cheap recently, so I just had to pick it up. I've heard very good things about this transfer. Some people even say that this version is better than the Criterion, which I find hard to believe. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to watch that on 4K. Safe to say it's going to be a big upgrade from the DVD. Okay, now we're getting into the cool stuff here. Halloween on 4K. Another film that I never thought I was going to be able to get on 4K because of how damn expensive this thing is. Combined with the fact that it's Scream Factory for this one, yeah. Yeah, Scream, not Shout. I'm pretty sure Scream's a boutique label, right? You know what, 4K, boutique label, and it's a US import. I thought I was never going to be able to find this thing for a nice price. Got it for a very nice price, and now it's here. And I'm very glad I got it. An interesting thing about this release I saw. So you have the new 4K scan, but you also have a Blu-ray with the original color timing presentation, which I find kind of weird because isn't the 4K meant to be the true version of the film? Be a little bit confused by that, but it's cool that they included that nonetheless. Nice disc artwork in there. Shout and Scream Factory have always done very nice releases, and this is no exception. And it's nice to get a few more slipcovers in my collection because in Australia, we very rarely get them. The Crow on 4K. One of my favorite films of all time. 10 out of 10. Impeccable. Perfect. I've watched the original Blu-ray multiple times, and I started watching this last night. I didn't finish it because I was just tired out of my mind. I had to crash. But this is a really good 4K transfer. Brings out so much more detail, and especially with a film that's as dark as this one, the HDR does wonders to it. Now, this one is coming out in Australia. It's not out yet. It's coming out very soon. But the reason I imported the American version was because I got to deal with the Alien 4K, which I wouldn't have been able to get over here. And it brought this down to retail price for the Australian version. But with this one, I get a slipcover. So, you know, that worked out really well. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original version. I haven't watched this yet. This is the 4K from, I think it's Dark Sky. Dark Sky Films. I know there's two 4K versions of this, but again, this one was a first time watch buy because it was just so insanely cheap. And the nice thing about getting films like this on sale, where it's a US import, slipcover, all the bells and whistles, if for some reason I don't want to keep this film, it's not hard to resell and maybe even make a profit. But I mean, look at this. That slipcover is beautiful. You open it up. The original poster artwork on the inside here. Yeah, I'm very, very keen to watch this film. I'm honestly a little bit scared because I've seen bits and pieces of this film over the years and it honestly has always creeped me out. So I might have to watch that one in the middle of the day. All right, now we're getting into the serious stuff. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That's a mouthful. Stanley Kubrick, we're going to come back to this in a second actually, so I'm not going to go too in depth here. I haven't watched this movie yet, which I know is crazy to not blind buy, but I know it's crazy to have a first time watch and buy the Criterion Blu-ray for it. But again, the price on this one was just right. I love Kubrick. I love all of his films. I just haven't watched this one yet, so it's a pretty safe bet. And also, I did not know Criterion Blu-rays were this nice. This is the second Criterion disc I have. The only other one I have Christopher Nolan's Following on DVD, and that's a very bare bones release. It's just a standard DVD case with the booklet and the disc inside. This is like all high quality cardboard in a nice sleeve. Pulls out here like that. Artwork on all the sides. It folds out. You have a whole envelope here just full of extras and goodies that I'm not going to open now because it's going to be a nightmare. And then just this really nice disc artwork. Like, I remember opening this up when I got it and I was like, oh, this is why Criterions are so expensive, because they are very nice. Is this going to change my buying habits for Criterion? No, because I'm not made of money. But put it this way, it's made me understand why they charge the price they do, because this is a very nice package and I'm very excited to watch this. I might even buy that box set they're putting out one day because I don't have any Criterions. If that thing goes on sale for a good price one day, I might just pull the trigger because that is a lot of great Criterion films for a very good price. And to finish off here, got a couple of box sets. Indiana Jones, the 4-movie collection. I'm glad it's not 5 because I do not need Dial of Destiny. That movie sucks. Well, it's not a good Indiana Jones movie, put it that way. I've owned these films on Blu-ray for a few years now, but I've heard very good things about the 4K transfers and heard they are worth the upgrade. And I love these films, so I thought, you know, this one on sale, price was right. I pulled the trigger. I haven't watched any of these yet, but even just the packaging on this release, it's not amazing, but it's pretty solid. I mean, you know, slipcover, pulls out, nice bit of artwork on the inside here. You've got this little poster here that has all the poster artwork from all the movies on there, and you fold this out. Can't really show it on camera, don't fall back. Folds out, all the movies there. I'm just going to put this in here. By no means one of the best releases I've ever seen, but it's nice. And capping it all off, the Stanley Kubrick 3-film 4K collection. Now, the main reason I bought this was because I've wanted 2001 on 4K for a long time because I love the film, and I've heard the disc is, people call it maybe the best 4K of all time. I've heard it's just mind-boggling. And I've also heard that The Shining, people rank that disc very highly as well. Full Metal Jacket, people say it's a good 4K disc, but I also just love that film. It's probably my favorite out of these three. And this collection, it's pretty nice really for a standard sort of setup. This is embossed on the front here, all that on the side, and you have the standard 4K releases for all of them just tucked inside here. I'm not taking them out because one thing I will give this collection, they shoved these things in here very tight. I mean, look at... Those aren't coming out. They're not moving. Good job, Warner Brothers. Proud of yous. But yeah, very high on the watch list. Very happy to have this in my hands. And with that, that is the end of this collection video. Whew. That was a big one. It's funny because I get to the end of these things and I'm like, did I just talk nonsense that whole time? Which I'm sure a bit of it was, but you know, we're here just to chill out, talk about movies, just speak what comes to mind. If you're still here, thank you. I'm glad you watched. I'm glad you enjoyed. But that is going to do it for now. These haul videos, I do really like making them because they are just easy to make and it's a good excuse just to talk about movies that I love and show off some cool movies. I don't know when I'm going to make the next one because I'm actually, again, I'm holding off on buying movies lately for various reasons. One of those reasons is probably going to cause me to actually make an updated collection video sometime in the next few weeks for reasons that I will discuss in that video. One of the reasons I'm happy to make this haul video is that I can finally put these movies in the collection on the shelf and cycle some older movies out. So yeah, by the time these go in, the collection's gonna be significantly changed. So I'm excited for that. Anyway, guys, well, I guess that is an announcement. Look for a collection video coming. Hopefully I can get it done because I'm kind of on a time frame. I have a deadline for it. If I miss that deadline, it's not going to get made for a while, so I want to get it done. But yeah, anyway guys, as always, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Look after yourselves, and as always, I will see you all in the next video.